So hello everyone, I guess the stream is working right now. And yeah, so basically the last time when I was painting a monster, it was this guy. So I painted this type of monster, like this guardian guy. I don't remember if I have a miniature for him somewhere in there, but this is not this one. But yeah, so basically let's randomize the next monster. Let me mute myself in the Twitch. Okay, where do I have it open? In here, okay. So for today it's 8th, so 7 and 1. Let's go with the 1. And it's January, February, so luty, so let's go 1L. And a Devilkin. Okay, so today I will be doing a Devilkin. Maybe I will do some more if the time allows me to. But let's start with the Devilkin. So for today, this small little fella, and let's just copy this guy to have like a visual reference. Oh, great job. To have like a visual reference for myself of the style more or less on what I wanted to achieve. Yeah, I want to avoid, to be honest, drawing females as long as possible because they are extremely hard. So I will be randomizing everything. So I guess, as I said, for today there is a Devilkin, and these are like little fun monsters because they're kinda the Fallens, like the Diablo 2 and Diablo 3, and I guess in Diablo 4 they are the Fallen ones. So they're like these lower tier monsters that are kinda made out of rubber because they are like bouncing all the time when you hit them. So I always enjoy hitting them. This was like a really cool monster to see. So basically for this guy, I would like to start with some sort of a perspective grid, like a really simple perspective grid, just to have a basic idea of the space in which I want to draw him. And maybe I will try to draw him a little bit more in a 3-point perspective type of thingies, a little bit shown from the top. So I guess the horizon line will be somewhere in here, because I guess he is like the small monster, like the smallest monster in the series. So if we were to have a human, if the human is this big, more or less, I guess the Devilkin will be somewhere around here. So this is the basic idea. This is why I kind of want to show him from the top. And that's pretty much all. So let's keep it a little bit lighter. And let's just make a sketch. Unfortunately, I cannot go into the full screen mode because then all the... actually, I can. It's just the empty screen then. I don't think it's a problem. So yeah, let's try to do this fella. And let's try to draw him in a way that will make him look cool. I'm not really a huge fan of the design of the Fallen ones from the Diablo 3. I don't really like how they look extremely dangerous. Like, these monsters are not really that dangerous. So I always like to, or imagine them to be a little bit more like this guys from the from Harry Potter, like the magical guys. I have no idea how. Dobby, I guess it was his name. So I always kind of imagined them as a Dobby, a little bit more as a Dobby. So a huge like eyes and a kinda goblin-like posture. Yeah, but there are like 3 more. Hello, Adrian. There were like 3 more like types of these monsters, so there is still like waiting for me to make like 2 more of them. And I hope I won't randomize them soon, because as I said, drawing females is extremely hard. I was always struggling with it a lot. Let's do this guy a little bit more hunched. Silhouette. I don't know if they are wearing some sort of a hat. I always imagine them to, but I guess they don't actually wear any type of a hat. So I guess I won't give them any type of a hat. And in this case, in this guy, I will add him some like rugged clothes because it will kind of fit to them. Some simplified abdominal muscles. And he's holding a scimitar. So let's give him a long ass arm. And this one will be holding a buckler. Hello. Boom. The price will be too big for him to get hired. Like, I would be. I mean, it will be a cool challenge, of course. It will be like a hard thing to do. So I'm completely up for that. But it will be probably the most stressful work that I will ever have. But I can imagine the game like this selling like crazy. Something like this. And now for my arch nemesis, the legs. Woohoo. It's always kind of funny for me when like an artist is drawing a monster and like every single monster that they are drawing has this like weird pose when they are like kind of crouching, like they are squatting like a little bit. I have no idea why it always looks cool. Like they should stand normally, but why? They always seem to crouch. Because and this will be in here. So if you are a small monster, most likely you will have 3 fingers on your legs. It's a little bit too deep and too big, so let's take it back a little. And let's give this guy a solid leg. For the whole thing to feel a little bit more like in the 3-point perspective, I will slightly adjust it. Integrity, it's Photoshop. I'm painting in the full screen mode, but because then I can move like freely my screen. If it's zoomed out, then now I cannot like move the canvas. So if I go to the full screen mode, unfortunately the Streamlabs does not see the other windows. Like I think every single window that I have around me is treated separately. So the UI will not be visible. But I mean, I can paint like this also. If I zoom in that the canvas is big enough, then I can move it actually. So I might keep it this way at the moment. Let's give him the leg like here. Yeah, but they are kinda, yes, but they are not really ready to attack you. They are kinda ready to start screaming and running away from you. Like this type of monster, so. Oh no, I cannot imagine drawing with mouse. I am actually drawing with, I have no idea if you can see it, with the old Intuos and with a pen. So this is the things that I am using. My first time. Hello, Michał. My first time when I ever did any type of a digital artwork, like the extremely first one when I decided to draw in computer, was done with mouse. Maybe I have still it somewhere, but it was uploaded to a page that is not existing anymore. So I have no idea if I will be able to find it. Okay. So goblin-like appearance is done. And now let's search for a small reference. Holding board. Yeah, let's take some sort of a reference for the hands because this is hard, as always. Yeah, I tried using the A4 tablets. Like my first tablet that I ever had was a Pentagram Titan 2003P, I guess. But I guess A4 was a little too big for me. Was a little too big for me, in my opinion. So I always preferred to like have the A5 format. For the weapon, I don't really want to give this demon like something that is like that elegant with this night curvature. I kind of want him to have something a little bit more crude and like simple. So in a way, save it. So it will look a little bit more like the weapon, the type of a weapon that he could actually acquire, that find somewhere or steal from someone or something like this. So maybe only a slight curvature will be added to this guy, but we will see. Something like this. This is also the thing that I was discussing in the previous videos, but if you are drawing like a demon, that is the most basic type of a monster, I don't necessarily think he should have any sort of like a expensive type of a weapon. Like there is a reason why this is like the shittest mob in the game, and they are using like the shittest equipment they can find. So basically this is the angle for the sword. Yeah, at the moment I'm thinking about the iPad just for the sake of like drawing things in the Procreate and recording the process, because to be honest, to like record something on the PC and then to like render the video and to export it for the Instagram standards, it's like a huge pain in the ass. It's like basically like it's basically annoying. So I was thinking about getting one, but I only need to read a little bit more about the topic on them and to see which version will fit me best and which version will basically be right for myself, for me. Something that's right with it. Yeah, most likely I will try to kinda give him some other stuff because like I like this shield design. It's kinda it's looking cool in the sprite. I don't know if it does make sense like to include like that much metal on it. I guess it will be some sort of a wooden type of a shield with like this thing protruding in here, but for him to have this shield protruding like this, it will mean that he is kinda holding his fist in here. So it makes a little bit more sense for the monsters then. Hello, Demon Envy. Also, if anyone has like any questions or anything about topic not related to the Diablo, feel free to ask. I will gladly answer all your questions. And most likely it will be even easier for me to talk about different things because I will have something to bounce off from. But yeah, so let's keep him here. I kind of want him to have this like kind of stupid look on his face, to have this stupid proportion of a facial feature, like with the eyes being too close or something like this. I really like the way they did it in the Shadow of Mordor. Orcs. Let me show you. Because the orcs in the Shadow of Mordor, like some of them look kinda normal. Like for example, let's say this guy looks kinda normal in a sense, like the face is kinda okayish in proportions. Let's place him right here. But there are some orcs that are extremely dumb looking. And most likely I won't find any examples right now, because this is how it goes always when you are searching for something. But some of them have this weird proportions to the face. Let me see if I will be able to. Yeah, on Wednesday there will be more perspective. Most likely I will cover the topic about the ellipses, and I will make some introduction to the shadows and whatnot, because shadows are also kind of hard to do. I cannot find the face. Maybe later I will try, but some of them like have this like eyes close to each other and whatnot, that like they're really close to each other with like a slight bend, so I guess I will go for the same feeling. Yeah, most like I was seeing this like certain orc many times, like even today, because I was watching something about like Shadow of Mordor, and I actually found him, but now he gone missing. So yeah. I'm glad you find it helpful. I'm actually now kind of trying to step back from all the 3D and everything, but I guess it's kind of impossible to do so. So I will just embrace the techniques and everything, and I will just try to go with it a little bit more. I was kind of missing like the pure drawing and rendering everything by hand type of things. So if this is a devilkin, I might add him some small horns. So it will kind of suggest that he is actually some sort of a demon. Also, this is a really cool thing if you want to make a demon that looks kind of stupid, and that kind of shows that he's weak and everything. The lack of symmetry will do just that. Removing the symmetry usually works in showing that something is not really, that something is imperfect in a sense. And these monsters are extremely imperfect. They are just plain stupid. Zero without. Yeah, I mean, I really like drawing environmental stuff without a 3D, like especially all the buildings and whatnot. But it's just hard. It's way harder, and the 3D like creates this solid base where you kind of can get rid of all the problems beforehand with the perspective and everything. So it's definitely an easier way to approach it. But the cool thing, if you really know how to paint and how to draw everything in perspective with environments, is that you have much more freedom with creating actually the environment. So sometimes you will like tweak the geometry on, or tweak some like shapes and whatever to make it look better. And with the 3D, there is a huge chance that we will get kind of a stiff result, because a lot of people are actually afraid to destroy the 3D base, because it's really like a perfect thing to have, because the perspective is perfect, the local focal length is perfect. So destroying all of these perfect things is a little bit intimidating, in my opinion. I'm not a fan of the sword still. Maybe give him like a heavy knife or something like this. Without the crossguard. With this. Yep. And with a hole in here, as this guardian demon do have to hang the sword in the hellish armory. Because this is like the cheapest sword. Yeah, like, I mean, 3D is cool and everything, but in the end, like, nothing really beats the true ability to draw something or to paint something. Also, as I said, this is kind of the reason why I wanted to make all of these streams and whatnot, because it kind of helps me to focus while drawing, and actually it kind of forces me to draw like without stopping at all for like over 2 or 3 hours for something like this. And while studying, while doing like this type of things, it's really easy to get distracted if you don't really have to do this type of things. So this is kind of like the motivating factor for me. Yeah, it's actually a devilkin, this red version of a fallen one. So I might even give him a small tail. I don't think they had tails. It's the same thing like with the guardian that I was doing previously, like in the previous stream, but like the classic vizerunek. Wait, I need a word. Depiction? Image. The classic image of a devil has this like funny pointy arrow type of tail, so I will give him a small tail. Yeah. Rakanishu. And the discovery that some fallen ones are actually saying Rakanishu. When I was a kid, it was mind-blowing. And some of them like chanting Bishi Bosh and all the other stuff. I don't think they really do need nipples. I guess if you are a demon, most likely you are born with kind of supernatural type of forces, like born in flame and fire and whatnot. But it would be crude enough to have like a spike in here. So I guess this one is ready to get a proper shading. So let's just duplicate everything and let's just increase the resolution for this one. How big is the drawing? Almost 2K. Okay, let's make it. Whoops. Let's make it a bit bigger. Yeah. Yeah, actually, this is kind of the way that I prefer the monsters to be created. Like, I can understand why some like designers and like artists prefer to give monsters like nipples and like this like genitals and whatnot, but to be honest, when you are like designing a demons, and if the demon is like purely like a mass produced type of demon, like the fallen one, this is basically a mass produced demon, I kind of feel like not giving them this type of traits, like kind of including the gender of them, but without the obvious traits, it will result in something that looks kind of cooler, that is a little bit richer as a design. Because like I don't think every single demon and monster would reproduce the same way the humans do or the other animals do. So in a sense, it will be even a little bit more demonic for them to kind of not reproduce like humans. So these are like the small things that I often like to include in the designs. Yeah, basically they are like the push around type of monsters. Yeah, I always liked the Tyrannies, but I have no idea of the lore about the Tyrannies. Like recently I started getting a little bit more into the lore of Warhammer 40k. I was like listening to some podcasts and whatnot and trying like listening to the videos basically to sleep quicker about the lore, but it's so extremely complex that I'm not even close probably to understand everything. At the moment I was kinda like surprised with the origin of the orcs. I never thought like the actual origin of the orcs in Warhammer is so complex. I'm not even remembering everything correctly, like how they are and by who they were produced, but I remember it was quite interesting. That they were like quite an advanced race with quite a interesting purpose to them. Oh yeah, the Tyranids. Yeah, that's pretty sure. Also, this is the reason why the Zergs work this way, because as far as I know, uh, the Zergs and the space, like the Terrans and Protoss, are basically based on Tyranids, Space Marines, and I guess Eldars, because they are pretty much the same thing, like almost the same thing. And as far as I know, this is like the official info from the creators. There were some internal problems and they split up, and some guys like created StarCraft thingies. But yeah, Warhammer definitely is like one of the coolest franchises out there. Especially with the stuff the fans are creating, like Astartes and everything. Like this is actually the coolest thing ever. Like I wish like more artists will start doing something like this with this quality, because like Astartes is mind-blowingly good. I guess I am listening to Luetin, however to pronounce it. I guess this was the channel that I was like using to learn something about Warhammer. Mhm. Yeah, and like one of the coolest things that I really dig in Warhammer type of stuff is that some like even stories and like things that is an official info is not actually like a valid information. So sometimes some stories are actually containing false information. And what is cool is that it kind of works like in the real world. It kind of works. I cannot like well like in a real world it works kind of the same way, that sometimes you will get a story that is completely not true, like told by someone who just wanted to use the story for like their own purpose, for their own agenda. And this is a really cool thing, that some stories like actually create this chaos inside the whole world. Like you don't really know what is true and what is not true, because even the info, like the official info, is kind of misleading. And in my opinion, it's extremely cool thing, especially from like the designer point of view, because it really leaves the doors open for future changes and everything. Because you basically can say, okay, the story that everyone was like speaking about for like last 10,000 years is actually not true. It was like this and like this because they found a book when the official info was like the original official info in game was described. So yeah, you were living in a lie and you had like a wrong info. Yeah, and this is exactly what I really like about Warhammer. Like, and this is a really smart way to approach a design. Also with the personal IP that one day I'm willing to develop, because like I started it for my master thesis and everything, but kinda discontinued working on it because of the work reasons and everything. I kinda wanted to have the same approach, because it basically will allow me to develop the world like without any problems at all. Like I can switch, change things, add things, remove things, and actually have a reason to do so, instead of like making weird decisions, like weird, missing the word, weird explanations why something happened. Some deep shadows for the eyes. Yeah. And now for the whole body, I will just simply make some deep shadows. So I will try to work a bit more with the graphic read of it, of this guy. Mostly I was like learning quotes about 40k. I was not really diving deep into the fantasy because as far as I know, it's pretty much the same thing. Just the technology is kind of like switched to the magic and everything. But I enjoy, like I prefer fantasy stuff usually, but in terms of 40k, I prefer, like in terms of Warhammer, I prefer 40k much more. Like this is actually the type of a science fiction that really like works with the things I like. The vibes are really, really nicely done. And especially I guess you cannot really tell that Warhammer 40k is purely like a science fiction, since like you have tons of fantasy in it, like this classical fantasy with everything. So yeah. And I always dig the designs of the creatures and characters and everything a bit more than in Warhammer Fantasy, I guess. Yep, Astartes, as I said, is one of the best things that happened to the YouTube community and to the Warhammer community in the long run, I guess, because like the way this video is directed and the sound design and the visuals and like pretty much everything, animations, keyframes, everything in my opinion is perfectly done. I don't think there's anything that could be improved in it. The only thing that I wish there will be is more Astartes, but as far as I know, the guy who like was a lead in this project is actually creating much more. And also, as far as I know, his Patreon is extremely like nicely developed, so he has resources to create more epic stuff, because I guess he has like a monthly income of $10,000 or something like this from the Astartes to develop this project further. So I hope he will do just this, because the Astartes is like almost a perfect thing. I have no idea how many times I have even seen it. Like really often when I am at some sort of a party and I talk with someone about this type of stuff and I'm like, have you ever seen Astartes? And they are like, no, what's this? And then I just drag them to the other room and like, okay, sit down, take a beer, and now we are watching Astartes. And was like watching it, I have no idea, like 50 times or something like this. I extremely enjoy it. It's a really nicely done project. I was trying to like watch some others, like short films and everything, but the Astartes set bar extremely high, and had some problems to enjoy other like fan-made films from the Warhammer world, because like the Astartes was just way too good. But yeah. Kinda want this, like the top of the pectoral muscle to be developed a bit more. Have this illusion on this horizontal line in here. And I want to kinda add the dimension to the delts. Also, a cool thing that recently Streamlabs added is the multi-chat. I guess I started using Streamlabs in a nice time span because previously for many years it was not existing. And also now I can see all the comments from like the Twitch and YouTube and everything at the same time. It's a really neat thing to have. I'm glad they included it finally. To actually make everything way easier for me to stream. Also, I was kind of thinking about including the chat on the screen because I know there is a way to do so, but I have no idea if it won't be too distracting from the drawing and everything, if there will be like a window chat on the right side of the screen or on the left side on the screen. So if anyone could like it's hard to tell, like usually this type of things do not bother me, but it's hard to tell from the perspective of a viewer if it is cool or if it's not, because I'm kind of biased with all the things that the stream can have, all the cool gimmicks. Now I'm adding kind of like the lines to wrap around the forms, so the whole thing will kind of feel a little bit more, that it will kind of feel with a little bit more volume to it, because adding the lines around the forms actually help a lot to push the feeling of the shape of the thing that you are like drawing. So it's always a nice thing to have, to include in your drawing. It's like the tertiary type of detail to the drawing that can really make it easier to read the geometry and everything. For this guys, for small details, to draw some textures on top of his head, like this liver dots or stains. Always a nice thing to have in a monster. It's kind of a hard question. That kind of depends. Like I was really drawing, like for all, like when I can remember, I was drawing. Like when I was a child, when I was a kid in my youth, I was always like sitting with my best friend Nicholas, like back in the days, and we were just drawing monsters from Diablo. So I was like 4 or 5, I guess, maybe a bit older, maybe a bit younger, but we were like always drawing. But around the age of 16, I guess I kind of started treating it seriously or something like this. So I would say, like with the full intent of becoming an artist, I started around the age of 16. I actually started practicing then, just attending some schools and whatnot and everything, because at the beginning I was like studying, like learning how to draw in the Dariusz Walczak school. It's a rysownik with a v.pl. And later I discovered Domin. A friend of mine showed me Domin. So later I was like learning in Domin when I was in the high school, I guess, before the maturity exams, around the age of like 18 or something like this. So I would say I am drawing for like 10 years at the moment, like consciously. And I started getting really serious with it 6 years ago, 7 years ago, that I actually wanted to, that I actually made some goals and everything. Yep, and good night, dog on dog action. Have a good sleep. But like during those like 10 years, let's say, I was also studying because I at first started like wanted to go to the architecture University of Technology at Gdańsk, and after like one semester I dropped off because it was not really working for me. And then I started studying industrial design at Academy of Fine Arts in Gdańsk. So during those 10 years, like the 5 years also I spent to learn how to design things and whatnot, to actually pass all the exams to get my bachelor and master and whatnot. So it was like not a full 10 years of like just drawing, I would say. Thanks a lot. I'm glad you like it. Yeah, but even if like I think about it, like back in the days when I was actually like attending all these schools and whatnot of art, like especially Domin, I was not even close to be like the best one out there. There were some like crazy guys or girls that like they were drawing all the time, like 24/7 per 7, and like their skills and their abilities were absolutely crazy. So I was never like the best in what I was doing, but I was always enjoying drawing, so I don't think it's a problem for me, in my opinion. Mhm. Also, if anyone like is watching, feel free to draw with me those types of topics. If anyone would want to, there is also this roulette that I created, like this sheet where I randomize all the monsters. So feel free just to take a screenshot and just try to draw whatever is already like uncovered. And feel free to join me on the streams to actually draw things. Is it what to do? Actually, at the moment, it is what I'm doing for a living. I was doing it as a hobby till I was like 20 or something like this. And then around the age of 20, I actually started teaching at the school that I was earlier attending in the Dom in Gdańsk. Like I was attending Dom in Warsaw, but later they opened their place in Gdańsk. And since I was from Gdańsk, like one of 2 or 3 guys from Gdańsk I was, the boss decided that I will teach there. So then I started like teaching, and now it's like pretty much my full-time job. So I am working as an artist, designer, pretty much actually now doing kinda everything. And during those times I also wanted to try to be a tattoo artist. I even bought a machine and made a tattoo on myself and tattooed some of my friends, but I never like went too deep into it actually, so I could guess push into it a little bit more further, but I always prefer to draw and to design monsters and whatnot, so the career of a tattoo artist was not really something for me. But yeah, at the moment I could say I'm a full-time artist. It's also kind of funny because sometimes when you have like someone who actually finished, like let's say the industrial design courses and everything, they get often offended if you call them artists because they like to say, like they like to talk about themselves as designers and whatnot. So yeah, we're gonna do it for the next stream. I'm sketching. Yeah, I guess every Monday I will be drawing Diablo stuff, because this is like, I guess, the challenge, the goal for this year, or for the moment, until I like finish drawing every single monster from Diablo. And at Wednesday I will continue doing some classes about the perspective. So like in the previous stream I covered the topics of like 1 and 2 point perspective. Now I guess I will like cover the topic of ellipses and some basic shadows and whatnot. So I guess it will go like this. But the next monsters will be done on the next Monday. Of course, if I will be available, but most likely I will be. So yeah. And the video will like be uploaded also to the YouTube, so if you will feel like watching it, feel free to just go there and rewatch the video, because it's not going to be hidden behind a paywall or something like this, or just for the patrons or whatever, because I'm currently not having a Patronite or whatnot, so everything that I do at the moment is fully available on YouTube, every single stream. I don't really like the way his jawline looks like. I think it should be a little bit more thinner and pointy. Now it's kind of way too chiseled. Let's round this bad boy face a bit. Adding some horns, some texture to the horns. Hello, Mikara. So if anyone is like new in here, because my second screen is kind of small, so I do not see everything what is currently going on with like the amount of people who is watching and who is actually watching and whatnot. I am redesigning or redrawing all the monsters from Diablo 1. There are like 80 of them. Then I will try to tackle some bosses, because there are like a lot of cool bosses with the cool names in Diablo 1. I will include Hellfire later also, because now it's like the vanilla Diablo. And after doing every single monster that is in there and every single boss that is in there in the game, then I will just go and try to redraw everything from Diablo 2. So I will have this like a small challenge going for me. And Diablo 2 might be even more exciting, because like the amount of monsters that you have in Diablo 2, I guess like triples or doubles the Diablo 1. So I was even surprised that Diablo 1 have like 80 monsters in total with all the variations and whatnot. It was kind of like surprising to me. I was expecting maybe like 40 total top, but it turns out every single monster has 4 variants to it, or 3 variants to it. So it really adds up quickly. And also, since like Diablo, I guess, is like my favorite game, since like always, I think it's a really neat way to train drawing with it. You definitely should. Like, in my opinion, Diablo is hands down the best game that was ever created. In terms of like replayability and the designs and the lore and everything, especially Diablo 1 and Diablo 2. Diablo 3 not so much. Like, I do like it. It's a really good game, but I was like not really feeling it. The vibe kind of changed too much for me. And we will see how it will go with the Diablo like Immortal. Because when I was seeing like the alpha gameplays on YouTube and everything, it actually looked interesting. They went a little bit darker on this one. And with Diablo 4, I'm really like waiting for it because Diablo 4 looks exactly how the Diablo should look like in my opinion. So this is actually something to wait for. But if you never played Diablo, I highly recommend you to go Diablo 1 with the Hellfire edition, like add-on, expansion, and then to just go for Diablo 2. Or to go with the Beelzebub mod for Diablo 1, or something else. I don't remember the full name, I never played it. But I was just watching like the videos, what they changed and what they add, and it's basically reworking the Diablo 1 into something extremely new. So soon, if I will have a little bit more time, I will gladly give it a go to see what they did with the game that I was playing my entire childhood. But I really recommend this series. They are extremely fun to play. Also, if you have some sort of a game that you really enjoy and you don't know what to draw, just go for it and just try to redesign the game. I think it's a really cool challenge to make. Back in the days I was trying to do the same thing but with the paintings with Heroes of Might and Magic 3. But after doing like 2 of them I stopped. I have no idea why, to be honest. But I guess if I will finish everything from Diablo, from like Diablo 1 and Diablo 2, then I will try to tackle the Heroes series, especially the part 3. Because Heroes is also one of the games that I really do love. And since this guy is lit from like the top right, like the light source is coming from like this direction, it also means the shield will cast a shadow on the body a bit, or at least on the leg. Maybe I will cover it a bit more with this shield. The shadow in here from the spike. So yeah. Like with the Diablos, that the thing that I always loved like the most was, especially with Diablo 1, was this like really rough character that was in the game. It was kind of overwhelming in a sense, like you could feel that you are fighting actually some monsters that are like evil, extremely evil. And I always like really enjoyed the simplicity of the designs in a sense. So like the devils, like let's say the devilkin is actually not over the top type of a monster. It's kind of like a casual mob. Like the skeletons are not really over the top with like having a level 99 like golden legendary type of armor type of thing on them. They were like just casual monsters that you had to kill in like the numbers of thousands. So I always digged the style of Diablo. It was looking extremely cool. It still is. It's still, in my opinion, one of the games that is visually extremely pleasing and that visually just rocks the vast majority of the games that nowadays are created. Oh yeah, Doom is also fine. I was a little bit too young to play the older Dooms, so basically my story with a Doom, like I started playing Doom when the Doom 3 came out, like this first proper 3D version, I guess. But then I was like still in the elementary school, I guess, so I was like replaying Doom. I never played like the old Dooms, like where with the pixels and whatnot, because I was kind of too young for them. I really enjoyed not the newest Doom, but the previous one. I guess it was just called Doom, and I was not playing Doom Eternal at the moment because I kinda don't have time for it, and also the game is extremely expensive, and I already have some games that I am playing at the moment, so I'm not going to buy another one. Just sit and wait for me. So most likely I will just buy it, I don't know, maybe in a year or two or something like this after like I beat every single game that I want to beat. And then I will be able to go from there. Like, but to be honest, in terms of visuals, I enjoyed Doom 3 most. I'm not a huge fan of the look of the way the Doom Eternal looks and this Doom previous like release of it. In my opinion, it was kind of too colorful, and I know it's kind of like an arcade type of game, and this is intentional, but there is this something weird with the proportions and everything. Like everything kind of feels to me like it's bloated. Like I'm not a huge fan of the proportions of the things that there are in the game. So probably I am just like nitpicking really at details, but it is kinda not working visually with me. But for the music, oh boy. Like actually the Mick Gordon music was pretty much it was the reason I bought the Doom, the first release, because the music is absolute banger. Like every single track is a total banger. It's kinda a shame they lost him in the new Doom, that he's not going to work with them anymore. But yeah. Even like the vast majority of the PRs that I ever had in a gym, or like the heaviest sessions and whatnot, almost like each one of them was to the music from Doom, because like this is a rough power, to be honest. And currently a game that is really close to my like visual preferences and everything is the Hunt Showdown. I extremely enjoy this game. It's hard, it's like punishing, but visually it's extremely pleasing. Especially all the art, all the concept art that is made for Hunt is, well, it's really a cherry on top of the game. I guess I'm getting kind of close to finishing this guy, so maybe I will try to make another one. Yeah, I guess I prefer this horror way, because now it's like bang bang and just running, jumping, and it's basically an arcade game with the like that requires pretty much the ungodly amount of like reflex to have. Like the dexterity you need to finish this game on like the hardest difficulties is like insane. For this type of games, I guess I prefer a little bit slower gameplay with a little bit more tension added to it. So, for example, Dead Space was extremely cool. I really enjoyed playing Dead Space because it's a bit slower, it's a bit darker, it's a little bit more like narration, horror driven type of a game. So, it's also really up to my alley. And recently, like 2 or 3 years ago, when I was trying to replay the Dead Space, I was too terrified to even do so. Like this game is so extremely fucking scary. I was always like, okay, this is not for me. Like my heart is too weak at the moment to play this game, so it was kind of funny. And I remember when I was playing it in the high school or something like this, it was like, whoa, monster cools, everything. I'm not afraid. And now I was like, okay, I'm not going to sleep after this game. I'm having a heart attack. Like the Dead Space was actually a scary game. So I guess they did what they wanted to do with this game. They created a perfect horror game. From the FPSs, I always kinda enjoyed Fear. It was not great, not terrible. Like it was an okay game. But for other horror games, I actually extremely enjoyed Amnesia, the first part of Amnesia. When I was playing with a friend of mine, we were like both terrified, like scared shitless, because this game was actually something else. Like usually when you're watching a horror movie with a friend of yours, it's basically a comedy, like vast majority of the times. But with Amnesia, we were actually like arguing who is going to open the door because shit's terrifying, so I am not going to open the door. And we were fighting about who is like progressing in the game because, as I said, this game is scary. I don't know how it goes with the newer parts. I heard they are not that good, but the original Amnesia was, oh boy, it was a really scary game. But most likely because I have never played something like this before. I tried playing Penumbra, I guess, for a brief moment. It was like their first game that they ever made. And it was also kind of scary, but I enjoyed Amnesia more because of the setting. Like the setting of Amnesia was this like kind of Victorian type of England or something like this. I guess it was around 180s or close to those times. So I guess it was kind of cool. I don't really like his face. This monster's face. He looks kind of too much like a goblin. There's something wrong with the eyes. Let's try something a bit different. Let's try the black dots that are kinda reflecting the light. And if anyone also joined the stream, like if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. I am happy to answer all the things that you might be interested in. Also, if anyone has like an artwork that would like to get a quick critique about, like to just show it in here, feel free to drop a link. I will try to discuss it for a moment. I'll try to give him a little bit more devilish looking eye sockets. Like the eyes being kinda skewed, like tilted and whatnot. No, I don't like the face at all. I'll try to make him look a little bit more dangerous instead of like laughing. I'm not really a huge fan of this like emotion that some demons have, that they look like they are laughing actually. instead of like just looking dangerous, even if they are like completely not dangerous type of a monsters. Maybe actually making him look kind of stupid will do the trick. The face usually is like the hardest thing to do because it requires the extreme subtlety in everything that you are pretty much doing. Like even the smallest change can really switch the feeling for the whole face. Can like really turn it upside down. So like actually designing a face of a monster or like even drawing the face of a monster, because it's kind of hard to say I am designing something right now. It might get really problematic really quickly. This is actually a kind of funny thing for the horizontal, not irises, for the horizontal, wait, pupils, because if you have, for example, a goat, this is also a neat thing. Goat eye. An eye of a goat looks like this, and it kind of rotates in the skull, so it's always horizontal or almost always horizontal. And it looks like this because if the goat is like leaning to eat the grass, they need to still see everything around them, so the pupil actually sees way more in like the horizontal plane instead of the vertical one, because vast majority of the dangers that were most likely to kill the goat were coming from like the ground level instead of from the air. And this is the reason why they developed this type of a pupils. So it's kind of funny thing. I guess there is a video, like YouTube video about this topic. It's kind of interesting to look up to if you are going to learn something like this. But since this demon is kind of like the lowest tier of a demon, I guess it kind of makes sense for him to have like this type of eyes, because it kind of shows that he's fragile and that he is not the apex predator. And also seems like this type of an eyes kind of look demonic in a sense, because they are really unnatural. So I guess something like this will actually work. Now let's just rework the mouth. Plan to give him a little bit more, a little bit less sharp tooth. Will be a bit more about those like hard chunks. And this is also the thing that I really think a lot of like these basic mobs should have. Like this type of a guy should not be really that intimidating. He of course could look like a demon. He can be dangerous, I guess, in a group, but I don't think they should really look extremely intimidating. This is the most basic type of a creature that is kinda like a meat for all the players. So actually designing this type of a monsters as a like ballistic meat is completely fine. And the small details that I really enjoy are the openings in the cheeks, because there is still this really cool like head anatomy. There is this really cool looking muscle in the face. Okay, it's in here. And you actually has this gap in here. So I really feel like leaving this gap open, like kinda changing the position of this mouth, like leaving this muscle in a position, leaving those muscles and like opening in here, kinda gives this nice looking type of detail to the design. And also what I kind of wanted from the face of this guy was to get rid of any traces of like logical thinking. I kind of wanted him to look dumb, so I might even like make his full head smaller, so there is not that much room for the brain to actually develop nicely. So there are, I guess, like many ways to show that something is a low tier type of a demon monster. All these small little details like added together, combined together. In the end you will have... Yeah, most likely it might be. I'm not sure if like this is the reason why we do have the impulse, but can be. Like I guess everything that is happening on our faces and whatnot is caused by the muscle structures and the bony structures and everything. And I guess maybe this gap is like purely related to the dimples. Let's also spike a bit the shield, destroy it a bit, because if you're like a low tier demon, you are not having the best equipment out there. You are like having the shittest thing you could find, since you don't really know the difference between a good equipment and a bad equipment, since you are just a stupid demon. Make the blade a bit uglier. And I'm not really a huge fan of the shadows, like of the shapes. They kind of feel disconnected from each other. So I need to like increase the density of these huge masses of shadow. I kind of want everything to feel a little bit more connected. So this is like the last step before I actually add like a fill to the whole silhouette to render a little bit more with the light. Hello, Mikołaj. Also, I would like to increase the line weight in here, so the whole blade will feel a bit heavier, and to reduce the line weight from the top. Oh, perfect. And I guess vast majority of this leg most likely would be in the shadow. And the quads in here should be a little bit darker. The ankle. And I think it's good enough, and this hand maybe a bit more here. So yeah, for the shadow, a quick way to add a shadow is to actually fill up the form firstly. So let me just block the shape of this guy. Let's turn off the opacity. If you are doing this type of like thing, and if you know, it will be only like in black and white, because like all the monsters that I'm doing in here are going to be black and white, then you don't even need to really care about this fill layer to be like fully covered, like to be perfectly like filled in, since like sometimes leaving small openings in the fill or like this small texture will make for the cool addition to the overall feel of the painting of a drawing. So let's keep it this way. Yeah, everyone at some point did an enigma. or other like cool run word in the weird slag. That's true. Actually also randomizing the legs weird with like 2 or 3 sockets. This was also a challenge. So it was not that easy to do. I guess something lagged on the multi-stream chat because it's like repeating the same message over and over again. For me, let's see here. Yep, something must be a bit wrong. It's fine in the other places. Yeah, so a cool trick to add if you want to make a shadow quickly. If you have like the masks, you can just duplicate it. So I will duplicate the mask, change its shape to be dark, and I will simply distort it in a way that I feel the shadow should look like. And it won't be perfect. It needs at first also combine these 2 layers so the outline will look properly. Oh, now it's a bit better. Of course, it's not a perfect solution. This is not a perfect way to add a shadow because, as you can see, for example, the sword is not really matching the shadow, but with like a small adjustments and everything and whatnot, a small care about the shadow shape, it will look quickly. It will quickly look way better. Also, the shadow, even if it's like a vertical plane, will most likely will cast like bigger shadow because ellipses work this way. So basically, if you want to cast a shadow from the vertical ellipse, if you have like a surface and if you have 4 points of tangency, boom in here and boom in here, and if you will draw the ellipse inside of it, and if you will were to like drop a shadow from the surface, you can do pretty much exactly the same thing in here. Boom, boom, boom. You will get the 4 points of tangency, and then you can like redraw the shape. So as you can see, the ellipse on the ground is actually almost horizontal. So this is a neat way to add a shadow to the sphere. Just keep it in mind if you are like redrawing everything. Yeah, I just need to figure out how to set the whole Discord server properly because like I am using Discord but not for that long, I guess. And there are like I guess thousands of things and dozens of things that I don't know about it, so I will need to dig a little bit deeper for it. I feel like managing a Discord server will be a bit easier than managing a Facebook group. Definitely it's easier to get rid of some bots and whatnot. So I think it will be a cool place to like hang out and to add content with the audience and to actually collect some images for like overpaint sessions and whatnot, because I was trying to make this like art crit type of videos, but it was way too time consuming to do so I guess I will be like, when I will have the ability to actually stream for more than 2 days at the moment, then I will try to focus on doing some overpaints. So it will be a nice resource, a nice place to have some resources for the overpaints and whatnot. So okay, the Devilkin is kinda painted. Let's just slightly light him up. So usually the way I light creatures up is I choose overlay, go for like 50% with it, pure white, a bit smaller, just to have like a really subtle like way to lead the whole character. And I simply try to imagine how the form that is interacting with the light source, how it will like behave. So basically what type of a surface will reflect light and where it will be skipped. So nothing too complex, but to add even this like simple level of rendering to the drawing or painting can be a really cool thing to make it look a bit better. Also, something really weird is happening in here. In the chest area, rework it quickly. Boom. Yeah, something like this will work. So I guess soon we will randomize the next one. I don't think I will be able to finish the next demon, since I am drawing this one for like, I don't know, hour and a half now. Yeah, close to hour and a half. So I guess maybe I will just randomize the next one, just start it. So in the next stream I will not be randomizing anything. Maybe I will just try to continue doing the one that I will also start in this stream. So blade with this little shine to it. So I guess in a moment some of you will randomize this one for me, because I don't really want to randomize it by hand. And also a cool thing to do, to always add, in my opinion, is to add like the mask where you add a white and a dark from the bottom and kinda set it to overlay. So the top part is a bit lighter and the bottom part is a bit darker. So as you can see, it kind of brings up the whole character from the sheet. And it looks kind of neat in my opinion. So let's duplicate it. Let's connect this fella. Control S. And let's place him in the sheet. And let's also combine him with the shadow. The shadow is the important part for him, for this one. And let's place him here. And also there is a shadow of the arrow that I was drawing previously, so I need to get rid of it. Also a small fix in here. Okay, so I will say the Devilkin is finished. He will look like this. And only a shadow in here will be a little bit more distorted. So I guess I will start the next one, but most likely I won't finish it. So let's say Devilkin is in here. Let's remove all the references. Remove this guy. Let's place him here. And this is the Devilkin. So if anyone is on the stream, feel free to pick from A to L and from 1 to 7. So basically the first one will be a randomizer for me. So I will wait for like, I don't know, 10 seconds or a minute or something like this. So feel free to pick a card. And if nobody does, I will do it by myself. So come on, let's pick the card. Somebody do, please. Other than that, I'm going, okay, H3. H3. Corpse Captain. Your first skeleton. Nice. I was actually waiting for one of the skeletons to appear. Oh, double free age. Okay, so this is a corpse captain then. And G4 will be next. I will note it in here. G4 next. This one will be tricky. Is he holding a bow? Or a sword? I need to check, wait. Corpse captain Diablo 1. I guess he is having a bow. Corpse captain? Of course. This one shows I guess I have a wrong sprite in it because the right sprite should look like this. With the skull as shield with like a skull. So they are a bit like more yellow. Oh, Jakob, it was not your pick. The pick was from the Twitch. It was previously someone in the Twitch also typed H3. So, but it's kind of funny from all the possible choices. Like, two people chose the same thing. Okay, so skeleton. To just prove it that someone was before in the Twitch. It's in here. This is the chat. Kila Key was first. Don't be so happy. And the whole day is ruined now. So let me take this guy. Let me hide this guy. Yeah, but as I said, it's kind of funny that from all the possibilities and from like 3 votes, the two same things appeared. So, corpse captain. This one will actually be kind of tricky because if you want to draw, like all the skeletons are kind of similar to each other. I guess like, there are like 4 types of them. They're like a typical skeleton captain. So let me show you the rest. And he's like the casual captain with like a golden shield. This one has a blue shield. The burning skeleton will be the easiest one since he is like red and it's called burning skeleton. And the horror captain is black. So it will be quite a thing to invent something interesting for the corpse captain. So to actually make him look a little bit more like a corpse. So I guess I will try to add some like flesh to him so he will actually look a little bit more like a corpse. I will try to even have the same more or less pose to him. Let's see if pose shield. If there is any cool like references for the shield poses. I don't really want him to cover like the vast majority of his body with a shield. So collarbone. Oh, I will simply add the shield in the backhand. But I really want to draw the skull, look, shield with a skull, so. And the pelvis Elvis. Also, this is a funny meme. I really like this meme. It's fun. It's the slow tier comedy that I really do enjoy. dynamic. Actually, drawing this one will be quite hard since this is like a lot of like thin elements, and this is always a pain in the ass to draw. Like when you have like a lot of thin things to have. But also a nice practice, I guess, since drawing skeletons is always cool. And this is also one of the things that I was always having a problem with, and that recently was kind of stopped making even more sense for me, were actually the skeleton enemies, because like in some games, and this is like in vast majority of games, I guess, this is like the most basic type of a mob that you can ever encounter. But I guess only in like 1 or 2 games ever, actually the way that they are working, in a sense, like the way that they are connected and how they are moving and whatnot, was covered. And it was never really making a sense for me when the skeleton was like a dangerous enemy, like a dangerous foe. And even it stopped making even more sense when I discovered like that the average skeleton of an adult man weighs like 3 kilograms or something like this. Like that, actually the skeleton is extremely light. If the bone is dead without like a blood in the marrow. So it is actually kind of funny that basically if you are like encountering a skeleton, you could just most likely pick it up from the ground because it's basically weighs nothing, and you could just swung him into other demons and other skeletons. So it would be like you could just throw him at the rest of the monsters. And now the most painful things to draw ever, ribcage. I can never remember how many ribs do people have. I need to check it. How many ribs? 12. 12 pair of ribs, okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, holy shit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Some ribs are broken, so everything is fine. I remember back in the days when I was just starting to learn how to draw, drawing the entire skeleton was like a pure nightmare because I always liked to be a perfectionist with everything that I was drawing, and I always wanted to get the geometry of everything and whatnot right. And actually drawing a skeleton with all the geometry being like properly placed in the perspective, like this shit stamp. This is simply way too hard to achieve. And I always admired an artist who could like just draw the skeleton without any problems whatsoever. And the bones. So I guess what is kind of cool with the corpse captain, since this one is a corpse captain, is the fact that I can kind of cover him a little bit in the meat, because I kind of want him to have like some meaty parts. I always also want this leg to feel a bit more that it is backwards. Going backwards, so it should get a bit thinner and in the bottom. Okay, that will do. So I guess if I will like cover him with some like muscles, basic muscles, it will make him look a bit cooler. So let him keep his shields like this. Also, this part was always hard for me. Like, I don't know why my brain just for a long period of time have had tons of problems to understand how it looks like. Like the pronation and supination of the forearm, like the placement of this radius bone, I guess, was always like hard for me. I'm not even sure if I'm keeping it right at the moment, but let's leave it. And the shape of the shield is like this. This is actually a really nice shape. Of course, I have connected it. And let's add like a basic skeletal thing in here. And now let's make it easy. Boom. And here we have the shield. And it's nice. Should not be looking to the front. I might also get human muscles. This type of a reference. Where's the nice sheet with the muscles? And now all of a sudden, I guess something like this even will do. So not the muscles per se, but a cool looking reference. Like this graphic grid to it. Spooky skeleton. The cool thing with the skulls also is they are rarely really symmetrical. I really enjoy having them distorted a bit. And also one of the coolest things, like I guess that it must be extremely painful is actually the skull cancer, but the way it looks like, it's awesome. Like this, like crystals that are forming in here look extremely cool. Like, as I said, I can imagine how painful this is because it looks like terrifyingly painful, but boy, does it look cool. And also there is this cool other photo that I found back in the days, also with a cancerous tumor like growing in here. But actually from like the visual standpoint of view, it looks really cool. Especially for all the monsters design and everything. This is a cool thing to have. Okay, so I guess I'll pull back this hand a bit. Maybe I'll try to make him look the other way. No. Drawing a hand with like a skeletal hand does not make sense at all. Now let's give him, since he is a captain, he actually may wield something a bit. This is definitely not the angle. It was a better angle. Let's Let's move this right here. Let's remove pelvis Presley. Let's move this one like in here. And let's rotate this arm, this hand a bit more vertical. So later it will be a bit easier to place on the whole sheet of things. And also, since this guy is pretty much a supernatural being, the sword that he's wielding can be a bit like bigger. Since this is a monster, so let's give him something that actually looks kind of cool. So in the real world, I don't think he will be able to like hold to anything because of the like weak muscles, because they are kind of non-existent. But in a fantasy, sword can be a bit bigger, and it will kind of be justified. And since this is like the corpse skeleton, I will try to I will try to give him some like muscles that are kinda destroyed and old, so he will kinda look a bit more like zombified. Let's say some like delts. The thin layers, like the thin lines of the muscles without any belly, like some of them torn off, stuff like this. So it might kind of suggest that the way he's moving is kind of a supernatural type of a thing. Or even some muscles that do not really make sense at all. Let's say. I also have this cool application that is anatomy like for 3D Atlas, I guess. I don't know if you will be able to see it, but it kind of allows you to like hide all the muscles. Let's say I will take a lower limb, and it allows me to hide the muscles from the top to show the muscles that are visible only, like the deep muscles. So for example, now I discovered there is this really cool tendon in here that is connecting to this part, and on this tendon there are some muscles connecting in here. So for example, this adds this really nice looking detail in here that I was never aware of. So this tendon actually makes a lot of sense in here to be. And also for the pelvis muscles, some of them are kinda going like this way, so thin straps of like destroyed muscles and whatnot. Like something that used to be a quad or something like this. I don't want to overdo him like that much, because I don't want to like have to make him have every single muscle that is out there, but to actually make him have some of the muscles, I guess it will be kinda cool as a detail. It will look kinda cool, I guess, especially in the colors, if I will include colors, because it will add this like nice looking red type of detail to him. Let me change them to a trunk, because I want to include some muscles in here. And this also comes to the point of like using references. If you can use references, just use them. Okay, so there's this muscle, and the obliques pretty much like go this way, so Let's go into the back actually. So I guess some of the muscles won't really make sense to be there. But let's just include them for the sake of including them. Some muscles in the face. Let me show you some neck muscles and whatnot. This really cool muscle, the sternocleidomastoid. The delts are already in there, and some traps. And only the last thing are the arms. So he will not be needing every single muscle for his forearms, but I guess some of them can be like ripped off. And I kind of want him to look like he's kind of like rotting away, like the meat is rotting away on him. So I think it already added a nice amount of volume to him. Now he looks kind of more interesting. Let's change the sword. So the fact that he is a captain will cause him to have a nicer sword, but nothing that much over the top would be in here. So I guess a bit thinner structure to the sword. Yeah, just try to do him as good as possible. If you need to like spend 40 hours on it, just spend 40 hours on it. There's no way we're going to improve without it. And does he really hide his sword? This guy, no, he won't hide his sword, but I don't like the rotation of it. Having it like this, but not completely vertical. Okay. Yeah, well, what does a captain have? Captain medieval. Okay. No. So I guess if he is a captain, he will have some sort of a head decoration. Let me see. I kind of don't want to give him like a helmet or something like this. There's like nothing in here to protect really. I don't think he has like the brain or something like this. And what could he have to actually mark him as a captain? Vast majority of the things on the web has this like feathers coming on top from the head. But should he has a feather? Not really, I don't think so. A hat maybe? No. Maybe he simply will have some sort of a... Oh, maybe I will add him some hair. Let's say The captains will have some sort of a hearse on them. And the shield will have like this small protrusion. For shit and giggles, there will be a bit cooler monsters to actually have some ornaments on them. So pretty much the shield will say that he is a captain. And since he is a supernatural being, maybe some like hairs will like float around his head. I guess it will work. Something like this. So I have in here the skeleton. Well, here. Corpse captain. And I guess be a bit wider. And I guess this will be all for today. Yeah, for some chainmail. I don't really want to like go too far away from like these designs, but most likely I will give him some armor, but probably later. Now I kinda need to figure out what I could give him. But yeah, now you said it, now I kinda want to try it, so let's go with another layer. Some rugged clothes. Yeah, he definitely should have some sort of an armor underneath, like on top of him. But it should really be destroyed and decay. I guess I will just need to make more of like studies for the armors and whatnot. So I guess this will be all for today. Like I have a base for this guy for the next stream. That will happen in the next week, and most likely in the next week when I finish this guy I will start doing G4 from the randomizer. I kind of wonder what it is, but I won't like spoil myself. So that will be all. So thanks for watching, thanks for anyone who turned in. And I will also be streaming at Wednesday at the same hour, and there I will discuss some like perspective type of thingies for the next like few streams. So I guess that's pretty much all, and thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the stream. Also, there's a new video on the stream with the Harbor Giant and the topic about being stubborn while doing art, so feel free to watch it. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. And